So let's take a look at how to pronounce accident. We have first syllable stress. Letter A says the ah sound. Ah. And then the tricky part about this is that we have a consonant cluster here. It's spelled with two C's, but it's actually a k and a s sound. So I mentioned earlier that letter C can say either s or k in English, and in this word, each of these C's says a different sound. So the first C says the k sound, ak, and then the second C starts the second syllable and says the s sound. Letter I says an I, accident, dent, and this last letter E doesn't really say dent. It's not an accident, even though you might get a dent in your accident. You're going to have a reduced vowel here. So in the dictionary, it'll either show as an I or a schwa. And so I would write it here as accident. I would basically write it with no vowel there because that vowel is so reduced, accident, accident, that you just don't want much vowel there at all. So you could write it with an I or a U, but think of it as very short. And then when we make it plural, accidents, accidents, then you might not hear this T any longer because when we have, it's called the rule of three. When we have three consonants together at the end of a word, sometimes we drop that middle consonant. So it might sound a little bit more like accidents, dents. You can't really hear the difference, accidents. I can't really let that T out, so it kind of gets lost in the shuffle there. So accidents, accidents. I just don't want to make this long like accidents. If my N is long, it's not going to sound correct. So really short N, then kind of no T and the S. There were several accidents because of the ice storm. And then when we go to accidentally, we have a couple of different ways that people say accidentally. So either I'm going to say accidentally. So earlier we were talking about how basically just has the three syllables and we don't say that anything for the A-L-L-Y. Here we either say it accidentally as two syllables, and if we do that accidentally, dentally, we use an aspirated T here, even though it's not stressed. That's because in words with NT, we either leave the T out. So for dental, I either am going to say it as dental, I had some dental work, or as dental with a true T. That way you can hear that the T is there, dental, we had some dental. So same thing happens here, accidental, accidentally, accidentally, or sometimes we reduce these two syllables and we just say accidentally, accidentally. When we do that, it's going to sound like dently, because we're back to our rule of three here. We have the T, the NT, and L all together. We're not going to hear that T, not accidentally, but accidentally. We're going to stop that T. That means our N is going to be very short. So this was a great request. Thank you, because accidentally, accidentally has two different ways that you can say it. I guess you could also say accidentally, denally. We can also just leave this T out. And then it would sound like accidentally. I accidentally forgot to tell you about that pronunciation. To me, that one sounds a little bit incorrect. So I think we usually do accidentally or accidentally. But I think that third one is also used quite a bit. So yeah, tricky because of the NT and then what happens with adverbs that have ALLY and that rule of three.